Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 456 for the week of June 16th, 2020. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
Kevin.
Oh, Jesus.
The mighty Topetamas.
Okay, that's sure.
And Charlie.
Is that your tick? Is that your deflator mouse name? Was that what you were going for there?
I have not decided yet.
Okay. That's Toby, by the way, and everyone else is given their actual real name. It's just
because it just wouldn't be right unless I ended it with the and Charlie.
Right, no, you're fine. It's just Toby. It's just Toby. So we got some news to talk about this week. Of course, the big news of the week, very sad news. And we're gonna get right into it. Kevin's gonna
Swords of X is 24 parts.
That's sad if you're Bryce. Okay.
Only 24 parts?
No, the actual sad news for the week. But we got to start off with this because it's a big deal. One of the most important and one of the most influential comic book creators. Definitely in like our life and people a little bit older than us. Denny O'Neil passed away this past week at the age of 81. If you're not familiar with Denny O'Neil, you probably are. You just don't know it. He worked for Marvel and DC as a writer from the late 60s into the, late 90s as a writer. He worked forever. Maybe even in the early 2000s. I don't know when his last published issue was.
He was involved in that retroactive project.
So he's come back to do even newer stuff. But then he was also an editor at DC. And we were talking about this on the Geekbox podcast last night. In the last 10 years or so, he's actually taken on a role to be in a lot of those special edition special features on a lot of the DVDs for DC, especially like the Batman features. He's on a lot of those. So if you've ever watched any of those, you've probably seen Denny O'Neil. Longtime writer, created a ton of big characters, and clearly characters like Batman and Superman and Spider-Man were around. So he wasn't around in the golden age.
Waiting for you to get to my favorite character that he created.
Well, it is his number one character. I don't think it's even a question. Is Ra's al Ghul, right?
Yes.
Just monumental creation. With Neil Adams, legendary run on Batman, and we'll kind of go through his history a little bit here. I know Kevin, you're a tad better at these late Silver, early Bronze Age guys than I am here. And I know Denny O'Neil, but I'm sure you're gonna have a little bit more to say than I will. Let's get to Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, John Stewart, Green Lantern, Azrael. I think those are probably some of his biggest creations. Over at Marvel, he created Hydro Man, Madam Web, Ironmonger. So some obviously characters there that have been in the movies, and Madam Web's been in a lot of random Spider-Man books. Leslie Tompkins, especially if you're a fan of the Batman animated series, she had a big role in that, coming over from the comics. Bronze Tiger, Lady Shiva, again, two long-running characters, especially Bronze Tiger in the Suicide Squad. So these are characters that have appeared in a lot of mediums, not just comic books. His early work for Marvel, I don't think it was very minimal. He did a couple of fill-in arcs. He did an issue of X-Men with Neil Adams, one of the Neil Adams issues of X-Men. So not like small books, but he didn't really have a ton of big success at Marvel. He was over at Charlton for a little bit, but then he went to DC. And when he went to DC, this is where he, I think, became the creator that we know. And he was young too, right? Well, he was when he went to DC, he was pretty young.
Yeah, he'd been a reporter before getting into comics.
Yeah, wasn't he like 20 or something like that?
He was in his 20s. I don't know his exact age, but yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty young. So he worked on Wonder Woman, Justice League, Creeper, a handful of books, but his take on Green Arrow, I think, is the kind of where his bigger runs start here. And if you've ever seen the Green Arrow, Green Lantern Speedy, the heroin addiction issue. There's a lot more. Like Green Lantern 85 and 86. He was trying to do more stories that were, more modern, trying to reach a different audience. Then he goes to Batman. Now, the Green Arrow, Green Lantern run, obviously legendary, but I think Batman is where he had probably he probably made the biggest mark on Green Arrow because that distinctly changed that character forever. But with Batman, he brought him he really was one of the guys responsible for bringing him back from that 60s pop TV show mentality into the character that Batman's kind of been here ever since. Kevin, why don't you got us through a few of these? You got them on the top of your head, or I got them. I can.
Well, a couple things on those. Just 2 points, and is the stuff with Neil. That's one of those in certain regards, like the Stan and Jack relationship, because those guys were co-plotting. Neil wasn't just drawing the scripts. Right. But when you get into Ra's al Ghul, Man-Bat, Jon Stewart, those guys invented those together in some capacity. Whether it started with a drawing that then Denny filled out the story for, or they came up with it and brainstormed it together. But the other thing, we were talking about, who was it a few weeks ago? Marty Pasco? I'm trying to remember who passed away.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, I think it was him. So Denny is one of those writers that you could say was ahead of his time, really ahead of his time. And I say that because the Green Lantern, the reason that book was called Green Lantern, Green Arrow is because, and I know this may be shocking to hear for today, is Green Lantern wasn't a top seller. That's why they stuck Green Arrow in to just kind of try to goose it. And so the reason that those guys had that freedom to do the drug stories, and you look at all the other issues that they explored in that run, they had the freedom because no one cared about that comic. And it wasn't, we look at it now and it's regarded as, this legendary run. It's legendary after the fact. At the time, it still wasn't selling. That was still one step ahead of cancellation the whole way. So those guys, Denny by himself and those guys together, were truly ahead of their time. Just look at the influence of what they did on Batman.
Yeah. Well, I think it's not too dissimilar, kind of like Frank Miller on Daredevil. They're like,
let's call that
cares?
Because Denny was the Daredevil editor who gave Frank Miller that job.
Very similar.
Right. There's a very similar kind of approach to superheroes.
Yeah. Yeah. And everything about Daredevil does not come from that first 150 issues of Daredevil. It's the Frank Miller run and on, but it's the same mentality, right? With Batman, a lot of major characters got modernized, and I think these are the point that you now see these characters and you look at them and you go, okay, this is the character that we've now known ever since. Two-Face, but specifically the Joker. The Joker's 5-Way Revenge, Batman 251. You've seen that cover. He's towering over the city. He's got a big playing card, right? Yeah. That was the Joker. I mean, I don't remember the specific amount of time, but think about it this way: the Joker had not been in a comic in 5 years at that point.
Yeah. Can
you imagine the Joker not being in a comic book?
I think we should try that again. It might be refreshing.
Half a decade, right, where the Joker does not show up.
The thing that amazes me the most about that when I look back at sort of those times is it's not just that he hadn't been in a comic book for 5 years. You got 60 stories in that amount of time without the Joker because each issue primarily was a single story. So it's kind of amazing to think about how they can't keep the Joker out of a story for longer than 2 arcs before he has to be back in the books.
Yeah. So I think that Neil Adams run, Denny O'Neil's run with Neil Adams is probably has to be. I mean, that's his high point.
And the hard part about it for people who are hearing this or maybe haven't read those or know the stories is it's not consecutive issues. It's not like you go, this is the block of issues. They're on, they're off, they're back on, they're off.
And that was Neil Adams, right? I mean, he was not an artist that was going to do 12 issues a year. Right. He wasn't Jack Kirby. He never was going to be.
He wasn't Jim
one or two
Aparo.
issues.
That's who you needed at that time.
Yeah. He does like an issue and two and then takes off and comes back. Obviously, Charlie, Ra's al Ghul is, your favorite, one of, if not your favorite characters.
Oh, yeah. I remember early on coming into the shop, one of the first things I told you is, let me know any book Ra's al Ghul appears in.
Well, I think at that time, too, if you look back, how many new characters created in the 60s and 70s stuck, right, for Batman villains. But Ra's was just on another level. He's done a ton of interviews with him where he talks about the creation of, they wanted someone that could... the Joker is not Batman's equal, right? He's this wild card, right? Batman had no equal, so they were like, let's make a bad guy version of Batman. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here very much, but and it is such a great character. To this day, I think Joker. It's hard to top Joker, but as far as like personal connection to Batman, Ra's al Ghul is still probably the closest character villain wise to he's so connected.
Technically, they're related because of Damien. So
well, yeah. Actually related now.
Technically, is his father-in-law. So
But the relationship for me always kind of goes back to that introduction where Ra's is just suddenly in the Batcave. Yeah, like it's not. He just sort of shows up and he's like, "Yes, I used my detective skills to figure out who you are."
Yep.
When you look back at that Batman run now, the Neil period,
mm-hmm.
you can see what their approach was because you've got the demon story, you've got the Joker, Two-Face, and none of the other. There's no Penguin, there's no Riddler, there's no Catwoman. You've got the quote unquote. Man-Bat obviously is the exception to this, but mainly you have the quote unquote realistic villains.
Mm-hmm.
Not the guy, with the machine gun umbrella. Not the guy,
And they were probably trying to get a little bit away from the TV show version too, especially with the Joker.
They're trying to cut.
I love the '66 Joker. It's such a good take on the character, but the goofy, non-lethal prankster Joker is not that character. Right? That's not how he originally was. This is way closer to the. The Joker's Five-Way Revenge is very much an homage to like the Joker's first appearance or like his earliest appearances. Kind of getting back to that crazy Joker that would just kill randomly, right? It's such a different take than I think you saw in the 60s, 50s and 60s when the character became very tame comparatively to how he started. He worked with he went over to Marvel, worked with Frank Miller on Daredevil. Obviously, again, as an editor. But when he came back to DC, he wrote one of my favorite comics. He wrote the Question series, the late 80s Question series, with Dennis Cohen, who's just crazy cool comic. I what's his face? Oh God, I'm blanking on the guy's name. The guy that created the Question. Wow, Steve Ditko. Jeez, just a complete blank here. I've read a few of those Steve Ditko Question comics. I think we talked about this maybe like when Steve Ditko passed away. They're odd. I couldn't really get into that stuff. It was interesting, but not really what I was into.
Well, Denny's question is not Steve Ditko's question.
No,
but it's really good.
Yeah, it's such a cool
and
book.
That it's a shame that's not been collected.
It was. It's out of print. Yeah. They've got to recollect that. Some nice oversized hardcovers would be beautiful. And it's funny because there was a Green Arrow run. Was he writing Green Arrow too when they did the crossover with Batman and the Question?
I thought that was when Mike Grell was on it.
That was Mike Grell. Wasn't it?
Okay, but that wasn't Denny O'Neil that did that.
That was that Fables story.
Yeah. Oh no! Sorry, I'm going through here. Yes,
it was Denny.
He wrote those annuals.
Oh, okay.
The crossover.
Yeah, that was it was like Fables. I think was the title of that story arc.
That sounds right. I think while he did he obviously had success in the 90s. I think again probably one of his most successful creations, considering where they took the character later, was Azrael. Right, so he co-created Azrael Joe Quesada for the Batman Sword of the Azrael miniseries, and that Azrael again, probably one of the most important characters in the DC universe, or in the Batman universe from the 90s, right? A creation there, because clearly the breaking of the Bat and Nightfall and him taking over, how much Denny O'Neil it was involved with that. I actually don't know how much he was involved with the actual like getting Azrael in to become the Batman replacement, but he did create the character and wrote that book. So clearly he,
So then he was really good at replacing Batman. Like we need a bad version of Batman. We need to replace Batman. He's going to be going away for a while.
So especially DC, but he definitely had a big role to play at Marvel in an editorial. But considering Green Arrow, Green Lantern, Batman, his run on Batman, his involvement with the Joker, Ra's al Ghul, Azrael, you got to get away from the guys that created all the Golden Age guys and Stan Lee. It's those are shoulders that very few people will ever come close to. Just the amount of characters they create in such a short time. It was very difficult to create characters as time goes on that actually stick. They create them all the time and nothing sticks, right? Very few. Len Wein was one of those guys, right? And obviously he passed away a while ago. We talked about him. Him and Denny O'Neil, probably two of the most important people from late 60s, early 70s, and all in creating like that next generation of characters. And and a lot of those characters have stuck around to today. So. I wish those Neil Adams collections of Batman were not the remastered. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that collection. I really wish they would put that out in the original.
We can say that the recent Joker omnibus has the original coloring on Five-Way Revenge. So at least that's something.
Oh, nice.
That's something.
Nice.
And we confirmed that like the Tales of the Demon has the original coloring, the hardcover that came out on that recently too.
It does?
Well,
yeah.
So Tales of the Demon, over the years, there's been editions that have the new coloring and editions that have the old coloring. And they've alternated back and forth, and I've lost count on where we're at.
Give you any idea what the omnibus is going to be?
For what?
The Demon omnibus? What coloring it's going to have?
Did they announce one?
So I think you're talking about the one that collects the Bride of the Demon, Son of the Demon, and Birth of the Demon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that they've ever recolored that stuff.
Oh, I see.
I don't.
Toby, it's just Neil Adams artwork.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, I would kill for them to reissue those Batman Neil Adams runs with the original coloring, but.
And obviously that coloring exists because they put out the facsimile comics with it. So it's not like the files are just gone forever.
Well, as Indicator says, there's a thing called binding, right?
Yeah.
But those are very expensive issues, though.
Those issues are pretty pricey.
You get the facsimile.
That's true. You get the facsimile and just throw those in there.
Yeah.
That's very true.
I feel like if they're going to reprint a lot of those in single issue format, it would be they may go through and reprint most of his.
Well, but people who are hearing this, you can still read the. I mean, it's not like they're unreadable.
No,
it just looks like Batman is wearing a bright blue plastic cape, and you got to just go with it.
Yeah, we're being picky.
But the Green Lantern, Green Arrow books are the original look.
Yeah, I don't think he.
No, I think it's just Batman and Deadman
Deadman. Because I picked up those Green Lantern Silver Age omnibuses, and it actually stops at what was the first Green Lantern Green Arrow? 75? 76? Yeah, because the omnibuses end at 75, and so they have the Green Lantern Green Arrow oversized hardcover, so it would be the next book. It's not a Silver Age or Bronze Age omnibus, but it does. They have collected through that point. So what's that go to 100 and to 100 something, 90 something, 92, I think it was. Was it 76 to 92? Is that right? I can't remember.
You're just pouring salt on the wound for me right now, Ryan.
No, the Neil and Denny.
Because I have the Green Lantern Silver Age omnibuses the first time they released them.
Yeah.
And when they did the re-release of them with like the new covers, they changed the issues that are in the Volume 1 and the Volume 2.
Oh, did they?
So I can't just buy a Volume 3 to complete.
Where does Volume 3 or where does Volume 2 end? Do you know? Do you remember?
So I have these. I have the trades here. I'm going to check it. I'm just going to check it in these.
Oh yeah. I have the same 2 trades. Yeah, the softcover versions. Yeah, they it's that more recent hardcover is a really good
82
collection.
is their last issue.
82. Okay, sorry, I had 92 in my head.
So after they were done is the period where it's still Green Lantern, Green Arrow, but it's where Mike Grell takes over on art. It's still Denny, but it becomes like regular superhero sci-fi stuff.
Yeah.
Well, like for me, I know that like issue 76 has just that really poignant like page where the black guy is saying you're helping the purple people and the orange people and all of this stuff, and he's just that whole page is just amazing.
Yeah, that's kind of their very relevant for today too. That's one of their classic pages.
Whenever people scream about they don't want politics in their comic books, I'm like that always jumps back to what, like, I always think back to that Denny O'Neil like Green Lantern, Green Arrow stuff, and I'm like, that stuff's amazing. What are you talking about?
So in the original printing they did for the Silver Age Omnibus, before they went back and did a new printing, the Volume 2 only goes up through issue 45.
Oh,
huh.
So they never put out a Volume 3 to take it to the same place that the Volume 1 and 2 of the reissue take you. So I would literally have to replace 2 omnibuses to get the additional issues.
It's weird. It's so. I didn't realize they were so
Charlie,
small.
just roll it out at this point, man. That's not the only problem you have with DC and omnibus collections.
Oh, I've been overthinking about that recently because they have these Super Sons that they just solicited, the expanded edition.
Yep.
That adds 12 issues to the omnibus that they already put out.
Yep.
It adds that second series, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Charlie,
but they didn't put that out in a separate hardcover or anything.
Keep the omnibus you have and don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just keep the omnibus you have and don't worry about it. It wasn't very good.
What?
So,
the Adventures of
I was
Super Sons
looking
was
at
fun.
The second volume.
It was fun.
I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I was also looking at the new Teen Titans omnibuses that they put out and then put out again.
Volume 5 is coming out. Yeah, it's completely
But the thing
different.
is the Volume 1 is exactly the same in terms of issues, but Volume 2 and 3 it diverges greatly. So if I wanted to bring those up to date too, I'd be having to replace at least 2 of them. Yep. It murders me.
Hey, I know this is going to be good radio, but here is my favorite way to read the Demon Saga.
That's the
giant treasury with the. When they did a Tales of the Demon trade paperback with this cover,
right?
And it had the recolored insides, and it was just brutal because the cover was the original colors and the insides were new.
Well, the hardcover I think has that same cover also, the one they just put out with the correct coloring inside.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's so weird.
Just so you can tell people, you can't tell by the cover at all.
So the awesome beware the awesome cover because the inside is a trap. That's the advice I would give.
Yeah.
Depending on the version you're looking at.
But this is the thing. Like, haven't they gotten feedback on this over the years? Wouldn't they like why do they keep pumping out this garbage?
I don't know. I get amused occasionally because there's a couple of releases they've done with the original and the recoloring inside like the same volume. Like if I recall, they did that for like the Year One Absolute.
Yeah, and the Killing Joke.
Year One twice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Killing Joke also is just. It's interesting when you get into like the Absolute collections and stuff where they're just like, well, it's short. We'll just include it twice in 2 different forms.
So you can see the good one versus the bad one.
Oh, speaking of absolutes, I'm going to just keep hijacking this on did you see the solicitation for the new Absolute Planetary?
Yeah.
It's the omnibus in Absolute form. And bitching about replacing stuff, I'm absolutely replacing my Planetary Absolutes with the new 1-volume Absolute with the crossovers.
Nice. It's good. Yeah. Yeah, because the original one just had the book. It didn't have the crossover stuff, right?
Exactly. Like, the Absolutes didn't have the crossovers. There was a separate trade I bought that just had the crossovers. Right, but I'm super excited to have an Absolute with all of Planetary in it. That will make me very happy.
Yep.
Okay. Rant over on how much DC's been pissing me off.
Just so you guys know, Charlie's been on a roll as of late on that stuff.
We finished with Denny, right?
So
did we lose? Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, one of those creators will always have something to say. I'm sure DC will do something big in the next couple months in honor of him. So, yeah, it's unfortunate time, but we've talked about this before. A lot of those 70s guys and 80s guys are starting to get on in years. It's going to be a rough decade. It's going to be a while. People are always going to pass away, unfortunately, but there's big names that are getting up in years. Moving on to some modern stuff. Shazam, one of a favorite of a few of us on the podcast here, is wrapping up with issue 15. This was solicited in the upcoming September solicitations for DC. So it's weird. I'm trying to find the exact specific order. What's going on? So they push back the Geoff Johns the 2 final issues.
Because issue 12 was a fill-in with Loveless.
Yeah,
that was the one that just came out.
Right, 11 and 12. Right,
it's just
Loveless.
12.
Is it just 12?
Yeah. It's just 12.
Sorry. Is that right? I'll have to go. No, you're right. Yeah,
because you got the John story, and then it's all of a sudden he's hanging out with Batman.
It's a flashback. Huh? Yeah. So I think it's 13 and 14. I think 13 is going to be a regular sized issue. 14,
So 14 is bigger. It's 40 pages.
14 is 40 pages, right? Okay, so it's basically like a double page, a double sized issue to finish the Geoff Johns run. So 15 is going to be is the second one off by Loveness. But then that's it. They're scrapping the book. Right.
I really don't get ending a series with a final issue on a fill-in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of odd. So while it is unfortunate to see Geoff Johns leaving and unfortunate to see the book end, I do love Shazam, and I'm glad they brought it back. It was a short run, but it'll make a nice oversized hardcover for you, Charlie. 13 issues, right? Or 12 issues with an oversized final issue. So
the Shazam that they announced recently is all the old Shazam stuff in deluxe.
Yes. Yeah. No, but this will make a nice oversized hardcover for you.
Yeah.
So,
but again, it will be another deluxe oversized,
right.
Or absolute. I guess they could do an absolute if they really wanted.
They could just do a Johns Shazam omnibus for you. That's what they should do.
The collect.
Okay, you have the right answer there, bro.
So the real question is, if Geoff Johns is off Shazam, where is he going next? All right, he's going to be doing something. So I would assume the obvious answer would be JSA. All right, that is a fan favorite. Stargirl's on. Wrapping up Shazam. He's dealing with these characters, right? The JSA has been, Legion and JSA were both thrown around as these are things we want to bring back to DC, right?
Yeah, and
Legion show up and then immediately launch into their own series by Bendis. The JSA. There's that Mikhail Hanine Hawkman cover coming up that was in the new solicitations with the full JSA and a Shire, and it looks amazing. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see what that issue is about. But we still haven't got that JSA. Now, Geoff Johns would be a great pick. Who else? God, I had someone else in my head and I just totally blanked.
To write JSA?
Yeah.
Or are you trying to think of the other project you'd like to see Johns on, or who else would do JSA?
No. There was someone else that I was thinking that would be good, that would be really good on JSA. who's coming up. Oh crap! Wow, my brain.
Crap is not that guy's name.
My brain is just complete. I'm losing it here completely. Flash writer
Josh Williamson.
There you go. I had the Williamson part. I couldn't. The Josh part was completely blanking on me there for a second. Josh Williamson would be great too. Again, he reintroduced Jay Garrick. We've seen Jay on the cover of some upcoming issues, and he's been kind of in the background the whole run of this Rebirth Flash. So, Josh Williamson or Geoff Johns on JSA would be perfect. I mean, yeah, we don't know.
So my instinct at this point, just based on some of the stuff that's come out in like interviews and that kind of stuff, I think you'll see Johns get attached to more like Black Label and little mini series books. I have a hard time seeing him do a full ongoing series based on.
I want it though.
Doom. Oh, I absolutely want it, but it's a lot easier for me to sit here and go, okay, 3 Jokers looks like it's going to get done and collected and released pretty quickly, versus we covered Doomsday Clock to death. You look at how much time it's taken to get like his 12 issues of Shazam in total that he did.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like while he's perfectly capable of doing a monthly book, I don't necessarily think that he doesn't have other priorities that would keep him from doing a monthly book.
Well, he can pull a Neil Adams with Josh Williamson, and Geoff Johns can write like issues 1 and 2, and then Williamson can do like 3 through 10 or whatever, and it'd be twice a month, and then Geoff Johns will come back on to do a couple like a 2-parter, 3-parter. And then Joshua Williamson can go back and do another, 2 arcs or something like that. So that'd be fine. I'd be fine with that.
I don't think it's John's writing style that's the problem. When Johns has a smaller amount of books, he's really productive. It's the artists that they have him working with. Was it Gary Frank on Doomsday Clock? Like, Gary's not a fast artist.
No, but so going back to sort of the history of Johns, he's shown he can pump out a massive amount of books. Up until his responsibilities started to pull him away from comic books. And now that he's running his own production company, as much as I would love to say comic books pay the bills, I doubt they're paying him as well as his production stuff and everything else. So I would love to see him do more comics, but I'm also perfectly fine if we start getting Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 and 3 Jokers.
Yeah, what happened with Earth 1 Volume 3?
That was supposed to be out the end of this year.
Yeah. Maybe it will be.
Ryan, I'm going to vote. I'm going to vote we just combine all the factors of our 2019 Deadpool. I don't mean Deadpool, the character, Dead Space Pool, and say, let's just have Geoff Johns and Gary Frank finish Miracle Man. Let's just get it all out of the way. We're going to clear the decks at once.
See, now you say Geoff Johns and Gary Frank go to Marvel, and I recoil in terror, right? But you say that they finish Miracle Man, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, okay.
They can borrow him to do that.
But that's it. They can borrow him. They can borrow him from Miracle Man. But then they've got to...
It would be like him writing another comic with Dr. Manhattan as the lead character. Like a Dr. Manhattan Shazam combination.
Maybe maybe Doomsday Clock teams up with Miracle Man, and that's the Marvel DC crossover. The Marvel DC crossover is actually Dr. Manhattan and Miracle Man crossing over.
The fans will be lining up around the block for that.
And then no one else, no other characters.
I'm there. Get me. I want all variants.
That'd be amazing. Yeah. So I'm. Yeah, he can go to Marvel for that. I'll allow that, but that's it. He gets
and he's right back.
And he's right back. So yeah, I mean, Josh Williamson stepping off Flash after 101 issues. That's obviously a huge run. He's going somewhere. Geoff Johns is up. I'm just saying.
So that's about
JSA.
3 omnibuses?
Flash? Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a big run.
Yeah.
It's a big run.
Now, hopefully they'll include the button crossover ones in the same thing to finalize those stories. Because DC has a problem being able to do that.
So we got some more.
They include those issues?
No.
Like the deluxe?
No, they're not included. So like the Batman one it goes the Batman issues. It doesn't have the Flash issues.
Oh,
You have to buy it separately as its own thing. And then in Flash, it's the same thing. It has the Flash issues, but it doesn't have the Batman issues.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah, it's very lame. Well, we're going to move on to another topic here, and that is an upcoming death we have in comic books, the fake kind of death, not the real kind of death. Tom Taylor, this isn't even like, this is not a spoiler because it's in the solicitation. It's been officially announced. It's the whole point of the issue. Deadshot, the seemingly unkillable man with a death wish, finally is going to meet the maker in Suicide Squad number 9, the upcoming issue. Now, clearly, death in comic books means very little, but I could see this lasting for a while. They've done a good job in the new Suicide Squad comic of introducing a bunch of absolutely pointless characters, and a couple have been slaughtered already. You need to clear the deck and get rid of the rest.
But killing Deadshot, though.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously assume that Deadshot and Harley Quinn and Captain Boomerang will never die, and it is very unlikely that they will in any sort of long term.
They killed Boomerang.
Well, like before, and then he came back. right. But yeah, if they're gonna really kill Deadshot, that's cool. We'll see how long this lasts. But
I'm wondering how long it will be before they reveal that he's now in some like Uber undercover thing, and they faked his death, and he's now like the new sleeper agent over here. Or
yeah. I mean, they're claiming like, no, he's dead. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yes, I love marketing.
They also killed him in the New 52 run, I think.
Deadshot?
Yeah. But see, with the New 52 run, they did Amanda Waller did some weird shit with Resurrection Man and brought everybody back. Yeah, I do remember that. Like she had like his leg or something.
So maybe he'll be back by the beginning of the next issue. Maybe he'll be back by issue 10. But at least for the one issue, Deadshot will be actually really dead for,
or at least part of the issue.
He's pretty dead. He's potentially dead in the cover. Then has a bullet hole through the front of his mask. So we'll see. Tom Taylor doesn't tend to lie too much. We'll see. This may be DC being like, nope, we're not going to have this. We're just going to spoil this. Like, who cares? Deadshot dies. Jump on board.
Well,
Suicide
it's
Squad
kind of hard
going to die.
Not to just announce it if it's going to be on the cover.
Yeah. More big DC news. For all you people that think DC Comics is going to quit publishing single issues and they're going to destroy the comic industry and they don't care
you've been
about
on the retailer
comics,
forum, haven't you?
Maybe you should read the solicitations because DC is putting out just the most ridiculous, huge selling, big money makers probably ever. We are getting the legendary Detective Comics 1027. Of course, comic book fans will know that as 1,000 issues after Detective Comics 27, the first appearance of Batman. Now, yes, people pointed out that there were also 2 0 issues in there, so it's actually the 1,000th and second issue of Detective Comics featuring Batman. But look, we'll forgive them, okay? We'll forgive the.
Hey, if you forgave Marvel
it's...
Comics number 1,000, you can forgive anything.
No, I'll never forgive that.
Hey. You have to be able to give 1001. That's the one you have to be able to forgive.
Well, Amazing Spider-Man 850 is coming up in a couple months, so they just announced that. The Return of the Green Goblin, too. So the thing with 1027, though, is it is 144 pages. That is bigger than most graphic novels that come out these days. Again, a 6-issue graphic novel is only 120 pages. So that is a chunky book.
Is that about the same size as Fables 150?
I think it's bigger.
Bigger?
I think so. I think so. So this comes up September 15th, so pretty soon. This is going to be in the new previews catalog. Peter Tomasi and Brad Walker are obviously doing the front story, the ongoing creative team. But this has also stories by Greg Rucka and Edward Rizzo, Grant Morrison and Chris Burnham, Tom King and Walt Simonson, James Tynion IV and Riley Rossmo, Dan Jurgens, doing both, writing and drawing, because that's what he does. Marv Wolfman and Emanuela Lupacchino with Bill Sienkiewicz, Marv Wolfman with Bill Sienkiewicz, what? Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez. Love seeing those guys back together. Mariko Tamaki and Dan Mora. Scott Snyder and Ivan Rice. That's a good team up. Kelly Sue DeConnick and John Romita Jr. with Klaus Janson. And Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. So that's going to be a good one. And Chip's done one thing for DC prior. I think he's done one thing prior.
But he's not Marvel exclusive?
No, he hasn't been Marvel exclusive for a while.
Oh, okay.
Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Jamal Campbell, Liber Mejo, and Jorge Jimenez are already doing pinup pages. So that is super awesome. Of course, this $10 comic will have 10 variant covers featuring the friends and foes of the Dark Knight. So I'll be very excited for that complete collection as well. Very, very DC knows how to sell a $10 comic. All these anniversary issues. Look, I don't need like Green Lantern 85th anniversary. Like, you could give it 10 more years and then we'll do this all again, right?
Yeah. Space it out a little bit.
Like Disney does the 5-year. Disney does the 5-year anniversary, which is like, okay, that's fine. Look, the DC went big on their 80th. Cool. Give it to 90, blow it out the door for 100, but I don't need like the 82nd anniversary of Catwoman. Like, that's fine. Like, just let it happen. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. So big issue Detective 1027. Really excited for that. That should be a lot of fun. We got one more little DC story here, and then we're gonna pop over to our friends, tangentially pop over to our friends at Marvel. Now this is in conjunction with completely unrelated to the Comic-Con online stuff they're doing, but in the same spirit. DC is doing their first major online event. It is a weird name. It's what's called FanDome. Like, I don't know. FanDome. Like,
no, you have to say it like FanDome.
It's not fandom. It's FanDome. FANDOME. FanDome.
Oh God, you make it sound so horrible.
So this is DC and Warner Brothers. This is their 24-hour free access to everything coming up. This is going to include potentially trailers, but at least talks, conversations, interviews, basically Comic-Con panels without the convention. For the Batman, Black Adam, the Snyder Cut of Justice League, Suicide Squad, and Wonder Woman 84. They're also going to have games from WB Games, all the superhero TV shows, all the, so this is, I'm just reading the list here. Aquaman, The Batman, Batwoman, Black Adam, Black Lightning, Superhero Girls, Legends of Tomorrow, Stargirl, Doom Patrol, The Flash, Harley Quinn, Lucifer, which, yes, the final season's coming, Pennyworth. I still got to watch the first season.
I'm curious to know about Lucifer, if it will be the final season or not, because there's been a lot of reports that Netflix has been renegotiating, trying to get an additional season. Yeah.
Oh, hey, I'm down with that. Pennyworth. Now it has Shazam on here, which I'm not sure if they're gonna go for that. If we're actually gonna see stuff about that sequel, that'd be pretty awesome. Snyder Cut, Suicide Squad, Supergirl, Superman and Lois, which as far as I know is still premiering in 2021. I don't know how much they filmed of that already, but maybe they got something. Teen Titans Go, still on the air, crushing it. Titans, Watchmen, Young Justice Outsiders, which I still need to watch that second half, and Wonder Woman 84. So Watchmen being on there is interesting because clearly there was talk of no more. Maybe there is. Maybe that was going to be one of the con surprises, the second season of Watchmen. And of course, comic books as well. They're going to fix comic books, toys, everything that would have been at Comic-Con and probably more at this point. So this is on August 22nd, 10 a.m. Pacific time. It runs for 24 hours. So it's going to be a huge, huge, huge thing. Please don't crash website. That's all I'm saying. Please don't crash.
Oh, it'll crash.
I'm down. I'm super down.
It's on a Saturday, so
yeah, all day.
All day.
Throw it on at the store. It's great being in Hall H. It's great going to Comic-Con and seeing panels and everything. But 9 people get to see that. everyone else gets to watch it online. So now we're all in the same boat. So any what's your kind of like your dark horse here? What's the thing? What's the crazy thing they're going to announce?
Superman 2.
Man of Steel 2.
Yeah,
that's entirely possible.
Leanne just went meh.
I think that's their last announcement. I think that's there's one more thing.
One more thing is Man of Steel 2. I could see it.
I'm with Toby on this one.
Yeah.
Do we think we actually get like? So we're gonna get the Squad trailer, right? We have to.
Yeah. No,
maybe.
I'm sure we're gonna get the Squad trailer. I'm sure we're gonna get something new from Wonder Woman 84 to
which
promote
just got pushed
the
back
movie.
again too to October.
So like a lot of that is given. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff for pushing the Black Adam movie, since in theory that's still happening.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with Toby with a lot of the stuff that's been coming out recently about Henry Cavill and like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They have to have some sort of an announcement regarding Superman at this thing.
I mean, that'd be huge.
And I'm thinking it'd be kind of almost a start over. I feel like they know they screwed up. They're gonna, like they already announced, they're gonna concentrate on single character movies. But I think with Henry Cavill back, that it's quite possibly that the universe is not dead, and maybe they do it right this time. Well, at least that's my hope.
No, I think Toby,
totally
I think you're right, and you already got that in Shazam. They just completely retconned Man of Steel and Justice League in Shazam with. This is the most beloved hero of the world. Kids are collecting like Superman trinkets, and the cafeteria. The spoiler alert for the post-credit scene.
Well, did you see the director that posted that Superman picture with the face on it?
There was a rumor that Superman may become like the Nick Fury of the DC universe and just kind of have like cameos in a bunch of the movies. Which, I mean, that'd be neat to a point.
Fine, but make that first Superman movie. Like, don't do the same mistakes again. It's just make a good Superman movie.
Yeah.
And then everything else will fall into place. Just like do one, do another movie standalone, do another standalone, and then you can build them back together.
Well, there's nothing in Justice League or Man of Steel that and BVS, there's nothing in there that they can't just work around if they don't like a direction from it. It's, the whole idea here is that, we didn't know who the hell we were. It was a classic superheroes fight each other before they fight the big bad guy. I don't need them to be like Superman and Batman to be like best friends from the second they meet each other, but like, they can get there after a couple of movies. Hell, look, like Iron Man, Thor, and Cap, like beat the shit out of each other in that first Avengers movie, right? I mean, that's always a superhero, that big fight when they don't. I don't even know think it's the other
that,
guy,
Ryan.
Right?
I would, and this is just pure speculation on a podcast. I would wager the thing that they are. I think that they took the wrong approach with that character and went too serious and too dark too soon. And I think they're paralyzed with indecision on how to course correct that. And with Shazam, you kind of see we're just going to boom. Do it like a new creative team.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of
look at how they did like Mera and Aquaman, right? In that Aquaman movie, that was after Justice League. They had that whole scene with Mera and Aquaman and Justice League and all that stuff, and they kind of just like, something happened, and then they just like, nope, we're going this way with it.
They can completely just, like I said, ignore whatever they want to from those movies and just have him be Superman, and no one's gonna. Very few people will complain as long as it's a good movie.
Well, I mean, the reality is they've been doing that in comic books for years.
All right.
Yeah.
Look, we were just talking about the Joker
at some point, right?
Yeah, you don't even need continuity. We were just talking about this with the Joker. The Joker's just like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm a homicidal maniac. I forgot. Where have I been the last 20 years? Cool, I'm killing people now, right? I mean, that's the whole point, is to bring these characters.
And so you can either cater to the anal retentive fans who have to have everything explained and make $150 million movie that bridges to where you want to go, or just start where you want to be and go forward.
Yeah. There's no point to, I love the continuity of comic books, But there ain't no time for that in a movie. There's no time. There's no budget. Shit. Like you almost can't even do that in a TV show, right? Like they're so I don't know why they're introducing a new character in Batwoman. Like, to me, that's the dumbest idea. Yeah. You just recast and move on, and who cares, right? But
no, you just do what Red Dwarf did. Just do a recast, have a huge long scroll that just zooms past so you can't read it.
that was wonderful too. Of course, I stopped and read the entire thing. So
of course I did too. But still, I love the fact that the first time you sit down to watch it is just like doing the Star Wars scroll, and then it just speeds up to the point where you can't read anything.
Yeah, it's so good. So I got my August 22nd booked, so we're gonna do that.
Now that starts at 10 a.m.
That's what it says, 10 a.m. Get to the store a little early.
24 hours. I mean, what are they doing like at 3 a.m?
What I think is there's 6 different areas, and I think they each have like 4 hours of content in those 6 areas.
Okay.
Because there's like a map, quote unquote, like on the website. It's like the DC Kids area, the DC TV area, the DC video game area. So I assume something. There will be 24 hours of content broken down between the different areas.
I don't need exactly 24 hours of content. Just get like 20 hours of content with an extra 4 hours. I'm good.
Well, the impression I got is it's a site that will be up for 24 hours, basically.
Yeah, I don't think
and I mean, obviously, YouTube's going to have a massive amount of it and stuff forever. But I get the impression it's not that there will be 24 hours worth of content. There will be content up for 24 hours.
Yeah. I totally read it that it's actually 24 hours of content. But either way, Superhero Girls is great. I don't need to watch a panel about it, right? It's going to be there. And not like this stuff is going to go away either. If they're going through the trouble to make all this stuff, clearly it's going to get dumped on their YouTube channel or whatever. But they're actually going to have like convention exclusive stuff here too, which is neat. So they're probably going to have what would have been a con will just be on the Warner Brothers shop or whatever. So see what they do with it. I'm excited. You know what I'm not excited for though?
A bunch of swords from X-Men.
I'm not excited for a 24-plus part X-Men crossover. X of Swords during the shutdown has increased from a 15-part crossover to a minimum of 24-part crossover.
Man, these creative types had tons of time to just add more swords.
It's a lot of books. It's a lot of books in a 3-month time period, too.
What?
So there's the prelude in the first 2 chapters in September. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 9 chapters in October and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 chapters in November. I mean, it is every X-Men
They've already
book,
announced a hardcover for this anyway.
This is, I guess,
what
I expected.
Where are the other 2 issues?
There's the 2 preludes. It's 22 parts plus the 2 preludes.
When are the preludes?
Wait, there are
September.
2 separate things called prelude.
You said 2.
There's Excalibur and X-Men 12 are the preludes. There's 3 one-shots, Chapter 1, Chapter 11, and Chapter 22. X of Swords Creations, X of Swords Stasis, and X of Swords Destruction.
But
then it goes. I'm looking at a chart here.
I don't know how to count.
That's okay. I'm just waiting for the flow chart that Hickman will do.
Well, because you said 2, 9, and 11. That's 22. Is there going to be like 2 at the end?
4, 9, and 11.
Oh, 4, 9, 11. Okay.
It's the 2 prelude issues, the first 2 chapters, 4 issues in September. Yeah. Okay. I mean,
I'm picturing one of those Hickman timelines that's going to be like, Chapter 1 takes place here. Chapter 2 takes place simultaneously. Chapter 3 takes place at the end of the series.
Well, I'm starting to have House and Powers flashback. Stop.
There's already a list, and it's in order, right? But this is not like a 4-part miniseries with random books that you can completely ignore. This is a 22 chapter event. This is every book. It's 12, 13, 14. There's like 4 issues of each book, right? Is that right? I mean, some of these books aren't quite so long.
I'm just saying I would not be surprised, given the fact that Hickman's behind it, if it's 24 chapters, but he plays around with the way he tells the story.
I don't know.
I have a question.
Sorry. 10 of Swords is the name of the event, not X of Swords. Of course.
That's okay. It should be called 24 of Swords, so we just know how many parts it's going to be to begin with.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
Do they come polybagged with a card?
Maybe. I haven't seen it yet, but it's possible.
Is it bad that would increase my interest in this book a little bit?
So, if you're on the fence on the X-Men stuff, I don't see how this gets you to stick around. But if you're all in, here's your crossover. So this is what they promised from the beginning. I mean, it's coming way later than I anticipated.
You already signed Bryce up, right?
No. Bryce only gets X-Men and New Mutants. He doesn't get the rest of these books.
But he's going to have to get this crossover.
Well, if he wants the whole crossover, he's going to have to get them all.
So what would be
Bryce?
Hey, I'm just waiting for the canned Higgins answer of, well, he'll have to get on the hub.
And there it is. Bryce, we all know you're listening. But for the new listeners, you should go to customer.comichub.com, and when the new catalog comes up, you should sign up for the X of Swords.
I was just trying to do the mental math of the cost of reading that entire story.
I mean, it's $100, right? Just shy of $100.
I don't know.
No! I guarantee you those crossover issues are going to be $5. So yeah, it's probably a little over $100. Yeah. They'll be $4 each plus $5 for the one shots. Yeah. And the omnibus will be $99, and Charlie will be very happy.
Charlie, would you buy an omnibus? Would you buy an omnibus of something you never read before? Would you blind buy an omnibus?
I've done it.
I mean, I wish I could say that I have never done that, but I tend to have a pretty good understanding of what I'm buying. So I guess the answer to that is no, I would not immediately buy the 10 of Swords omnibus unless
it came polybagged with a trading
nothing
card.
But good things about it and have some sense that this is where it all comes together, and Hickman really had that master plan that I've been saying he's got to have.
No, you know what they're going to do? They're going to have a sword come with the omnibus, and there's going to be 10 different variants.
Were we talking about it on here?
So it's a random sword that comes in the omnibus, so you have to buy 10 omnibuses to get all 10 swords?
Was
like
it on here?
Box.
Was it on here where we were talking about that I may have to buy the Avengers The Crossing omnibus because I don't know that I want to track down like the 40 crossovers to that book?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's my blind buy omnibus, the worst Avengers story ever written.
Oh,
Is that Teen Iron Man too?
That's
Teen Iron Man, right? Crossing? That's Teen Iron Man. Is he in that?
Yeah.
Because I know that's the same era with like the Wasp, where she's like a monster.
So I will be the first one to admit I've had the conversation recently with some stuff that I've ordered where somebody's told me, is this any good? I'm like, no, it's horrible, but I need it because it ends this.
Yeah, that's why I have to get The Crossing, because it's like I have 400 or 502 issues of the Avengers, and 300 and what's the final issue? Is it 402? Is that the original run? 400 and I've got 390 issues. Oh no, because I forgot I have to get the other one too. I have to get the X-Men omnibus too. What is it called? What's the Avengers X-Men crossover? That was the other one I forgot I needed. Come on, Charlie,
AVX?
I mean, you're not talking about the Asgardian Wars, are you?
No, this is the 90s where they had the Avengers,
the Onslaught,
what's it called?
Stuff.
Yeah, before that. No. The stuff with where Avengers and X-Men crossed over. They crossed over for a while.
You mean they've done it a number of times, so you're not giving me a lot?
I'll find it. Hold on. No, it's the stuff with is it I'll remember the name of it one day. It's the guy, the A guy. A guy's name is an A.
Captain America?
No.
Just making sure because he does have a giant A on his forehead.
Blood ties. Exodus is who I was thinking of.
Oh.
Yeah. Didn't they do an omnibus for Blood Ties?
No, I don't think so.
Because there's all like the specials and stuff on the edge. Isn't there like isn't Blood Ties like a bigger? Oh, was that only? Oh, was that shorter? Oh, you know what? Sorry, I was thinking of omnibus. I do need to pick up those Blood Ties issues though, and the specials because it's part of the crossover. But you're right. I was actually thinking of the Onslaught omnibus.
Yeah.
But I do need to pick up the Blood Ties ones too. Exodus, stupid.
Wow,
Exodus.
Ryan, for a Marvel hater, you sure are spending a lot of money on these books.
It's that damn Avengers, man. It's those crossovers. It's Toby's browncoats. It's that era. It's when they all crossed over.
No, one of the things I've been having fun with in terms of my ever-growing X-Men collection, because this is what's been driving me crazy, is like I love the fact that I have the like Mutant Massacre omnibus. It has all those sort of like crossovers going into it, and then that directly goes into the fall, if I recall. Yeah, the fall of the mutants, which then immediately goes into the omnibus for the Inferno prologue. So it's just like big crossover omnibus followed by big crossover omnibus followed by crossover omnibus.
That's how they get you.
No, and it's great, but that's why I'm so amused looking at my collection to a degree, because there's a lot of these that would be like a volume 1 of this, then you need this hardcover for the crossover, then you have the volume 2 which picks up after the crossover.
When I did some of my comic binding, I did my New Teen Titans, and it is I did have to put like all the crossovers in there, so my run of books like Deathstroke and Damage and like Dark Stars and all those books, like they're missing all the issues. I crossed over in the Teen Titans because I put them all into the omnibus. But then there was like I did it like more focused on what the crossover was. There was a Deathstroke crossover where like Deathstroke was the main character, so I actually didn't put those issues into the omnibus because I'm like, well, that'll go in the Deathstroke collection. So basically, I'm just gonna have to buy 2 of all of them so I can have them in both areas.
Called mapping.
See, that's the part of collecting that irks me to no end. Like, I don't think. See, now I'll have some hatred for Marvel for a second. It's going to be so much fun.
Wait,
so I have these.
Charlie's hating on things in this podcast? What's going on?
I have the Spider-Verse hardcover, and they have a Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 hardcover that they did because, like, after Peter came back, Superior was over. They did the Volume 1, then they did the Volume 2, which is when Spider-Verse was going on. I looked it up, and the Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2 has like 1 issue more than what I already have in the Spider-Verse hardcover.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. All right, so give me Charlie. You're gonna be my answer man right here. The Onslaught, the X-Men Avengers Onslaught omnibus. That is the complete thing, and then there's the Aftermath book, right? Yeah, I'm looking up here.
So now I'm gonna have to look at my shelf because I don't think that one has a compendium. I think that's just the 1 volume.
Yeah,
which includes like the crossing and stuff in there too.
Right, radio.
Not the crossing. It includes the prelude stuff and such, but no, it's just 1 volume. They didn't have a companion. Not like the Age of Apocalypse has a companion, and a few of the other ones have a companion. Not that one.
No, there's the X-Men Onslaught Aftermath trade paperback. But I'm looking up here. Okay. Onslaught Omnibus. When you get reprinted, you're coming home. So the Crossing, Onslaught, and Blood Ties. I think that'll be it. I think that's everything. I think I got it because of course I have my original Operation Galactic Storm graphic novel, Toby. Not even the epics. I got the originals.
Well, the original one is actually easier to track down because everybody wants that damn epic logo on the book.
Yeah. Our final story before we get out of here. If you've been following we're getting a little political here for a bit. If you've been following the news recently, you've obviously seen all the protests and some pretty shitty cops doing some pretty shitty stuff. And if there's one thing shitty cops love, it's the Punisher logo because they all think they're the Punisher for some reason. Where the funny part is, every single person that loves the Punisher logo, probably a person the Punisher would kill. Just going out there, cops like to beat the shit out of people.
I just have what's his name's art in my head of just like head explosion.
It's like Steve Dillon or something.
Dillon just,
yeah.
He draws rednecks like no other.
Every bad cop that has a Punisher logo, the Punisher would put a bullet in their head, right? I mean, they have missed the point of this character
that motherfucker
so much, right?
Yeah.
Gerry Conway, co-creator of the Punisher, long outspoken liberal guy, anti-gun, everything like that. He has gotten so fed up with not only cops that use the Punisher logo, but the fact that Marvel and Disney won't do anything about it. Now, look, I'm not someone that thinks everything should be open. I think trademarks and copyright, you could trademark Mickey Mouse forever. I many people disagree with this, but I have no problem with it. It's the company's right to do what they want with these characters. They own them forever at this point. We're not going to get public domain like we used to. Just get over it. It's not going to happen, guys. I'm sorry. The fact that they don't go after the police forces that use these Punisher logos in like official merchandise and stuff that they have on their gear when they're out performing these acts, whether good or bad intentions. Disney is sue happy. They'll sue anyone over anything over infringement.
Disney does cease and desist bullshit on Etsy all the time. Like
and they're totally within their right to.
Like if they've had if your kid had a teacher showed the Frozen movie just because it was like, hey, it's movie day or whatever, and they didn't get a waiver to show it, Disney will sue the shit out of them.
Yeah, there's been a lot of problems with Disney doing this stuff over the years, and to the degree that they're right or wrong, it's up for debate. But it's within their right to protect their copyrights. So the fact that all these cops have done this, and all these law enforcement and law enforcement adjacent people have used the Punisher logo, Gerry Conway said, I'm gonna go and go make the Punisher logo. It's clearly the Punisher logo. We're going to adapt it a little bit, but you're not going to mistake it. It's the Punisher logo, except we're going to make it for a series of Black Lives Matter T-shirts from I believe the creators, I believe the artists are all black. I believe they're all either minority or they're all black. I don't actually know off the top of my head. But the vast majority of them, I believe, are black creators or black artists. And they're going to make these Punisher logo shirts that say Black Lives Matter. And they put them up for charity, T-shirt drives. And they've raised tens of thousands of dollars already. Yeah.
The first three were designed by Wes Hancock, Demote Price, and Don Nguyen.
So, Marvel clearly never does anything with involving the Punisher logo for all these other people. So Gerry Conway is like, look, they don't do anything, so I'm going to use it too. If they go and sue him, how bad, or cease and desist his charity auction, like how shitty does that look, right? So far, as of this recording, to the best of my knowledge, I mean, I've been keeping up on this. They've not stopped this. So these shirts are getting made, and that money and that funding's coming through. We'll see if Disney does anything, maybe says, hey, look, don't do this again, but we're going to take care of the law enforcement. It'll be interesting to see where this ends up. But good on Gerry Conway. So he's forcing their hand. The look, if they put a cease and desist out on this and kill these projects, it will look so bad on Disney.
So the thing is, like, Disney's already gotten flack for like suing teachers and suing like these something where it's not hurting their product.
No, and those things, by the time when they go public, they always get pulled or they always get canceled. These things don't really ever go. A lot of these things don't really ever go anywhere. But there've been a handful of weird situations where,
the fact they happen, right?
Right.
It's it's like a kid seeing Frozen in their classroom. Who cares? They're gonna be like, "Mom, we saw Frozen. I want to buy Frozen." Like it's like, I don't get, like, I understand like it hurting the brand, but that doesn't hurt the brand.
With some things like that, where it's teachers showing it, that is just like some third party licensee that they're doing the thing that they're supposed to do. This wasn't like Disney's lawyers are like, who can we get, right? So, but they are a company that works with Disney, so clearly this looks like Disney. But Disney has gone after people. Obviously, they send out cease and desist constantly for like fan art and everything.
Well, they went after what's that DJ? What's that DJ that?
Deadmau5.
Deadmau5, like
because the hat and or the helmet and everything. Yeah, so I mean, they've had all these lawsuits and cease and desist and copyright infringement stuff in the past. So we'll see if anything goes with this. Again, I hope it goes through because I think the money's going to a good cause, to some Black Lives Matter charity funds. But yeah, we'll see if Gerry Conway gets his way. Maybe they'll start doing something about these cops. That, my friends, is a podcast.
What are you talking about? We didn't even do Patreon questions.
I didn't put up a Patreon thread. I didn't put up a Twitter thread.
Whoa.
We're done, guys.
Whoa.
It's over. Sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Ryan's
I forgot to do it.
He's like,
I forgot to do it. And then I thought I put something up on Twitter, and I'm like, nah, we're fine.
All right, let's do it. Let's do an email from 2015.
Where is my end of episode list? Thank you all.
I tried, Kev. I tried.
Thank you all for listening to this wonderful podcast. I mean, if anyone does have, if anyone wants to, post the topic they would like to discuss in the Facebook group, and then we can continue to discuss it here.
Well, you still have how Scott Snyder recruited Warren Ellis for Bat-Rex.
What? You guys, anything? Nothing? Anything? The topics? Toby, you want to drag this on for 45 more minutes? No?
I'm waiting for you to start the end, and then I'll drag it on for 45 minutes.
Okay. Kevin, we miss anything?
Yeah, I appreciate that part, but yeah.
Kevin is just stumped.
I was actually going to ask a question a few minutes ago that I held off because I figured you had to get to Patreon questions and Twitter questions. But this is for you, Charlie. Well, it's for everybody.
Go for it.
Because this topic we've danced around it even tonight. Let's say there's a deluxe hardcover / omnibus, you name it, whatever format you want, called, and I'm just going to make this up, okay? Batman by Neil Adams. And that's the title of the book. And one of the stories in there is part 1 of a 2-part story, but Neil Adams did not draw part 2. Should that part 2 be included in that book or left out?
Absolutely.
Included.
It was called Batman by Neil Adams
collection. It should not be in there.
Unfortunately, I agree that it should not be in there. But
that's not why I'm buying it.
My follow-up to that is it all depends on exactly how it's being solicited and stuff. Like, there's something to be said for particular stories or something that even if there's somebody else who goes in and does something, is still part of a overall arc that was being worked on. So if it was called the Neil Adams years or something like that, then I would want everything kind of included in it. But if it's a Neil Adams collection, then I agree it shouldn't be in there.
But then I don't want part 1 in there.
So let's turn this around a little bit. If it's a collection more around celebrating Jim Lee's art on X-Men or something with some of the this is one of the things that I get into even a little bit with the Adamantium collections and that kind of stuff. They're not intended to be these huge, big, epic, complete stories. They're meant to be more of a take some examples through the years of the different things done with Wolverine or the different things done with X-Men.
You're talking about what DC did with the 80 year celebration books.
Yeah.
Right. They collected just stories from those.
Yeah.
From those characters, but I don't think that they wouldn't include one part of a 2-part story in there.
No, but I would say there's a lot of focus these days, and rightfully so. Some of them are very, very focused on, we want to celebrate Jim Lee's time on X-Men with this big, oversized, monster size where they blow up every panel and all that. Yeah. If you're going to be celebrating the artist specifically, you have to stick to that artist's content.
Yes.
If it's more about showcasing the art, then that's fine. I don't care if part 1's in there or whatnot. It's sort of like the artist editions and that kind of stuff. When it's all about the art, except the fact that it's all about the art. But when it's about collecting a story, I want the complete story. And that's why I said if it was something called like the Anybody Years, I'd want anything in there that belongs.
Well, to give an example, there's those books, The Legends of the Dark Knight by Steve Englehart, by Archie Goodwin, by Len Wein. And I know of at least one story in one of those books that I think it's either the Len Wein or the Archie Goodwin, where that person did not write one chapter of this multi-part story. So that chapter is not there.
So this is as I say, it depends on how it's being presented as like the book. Like the Green Lantern's Geoff Johns omnibuses. There's absolutely stuff in there that Johns didn't write, but he still sort of oversaw and sort of produced those years of Green Lantern. So if there's something to be said that they still had the input into the story, it's sort of like on like television episodes. A lot of times a group of people will write and contribute to all the scripts, but one person's name gets put on individual episodes.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. So there's an argument to be made both ways.
Well, it's like, okay, so down the road when we get the Tom King Batman omnibus, do you include those issues written by Joshua Williamson that like Tom wrote and talked to him about in some capacity? But that would be, do you include those when technically they're part of that story that he told? Right?
That's okay. I have the deluxe hardcovers, which are Batman deluxe hardcovers, so I'm good.
But they don't include those issues.
Didn't we have that problem with JSA and Geoff Johns, where the first few issues were not written by him?
Well, right, but he co-wrote a lot of the early stuff.
No, so those JSA omnibuses, they did put those issues in.
But not originally, right?
Not originally, but then they did. Yeah.
Just wondering where everybody came down on that. Whether it would.
Well, how about you? You never said.
Yeah, because
what your opinion is.
I hate to answer the same kind of as Charlie, but very rarely will I sit down with one of those books and read it straight through. I'll more likely dip in and out and read a story here and there. But I would find it annoying to read the first part of a story. And then it just never finishes. But for example, they're doing a Man of Steel, Charlie, what is it these days? Omnibus that's coming out this year. Ryan, do you know what it's the Byrne.
Yeah,
hardcover.
It's not an omnibus,
so
it's a hardcover.
For folks who remember back in the 80s, there was Superman by Byrne, Action Comics by Byrne, and Adventures of Superman by Marv Wolfman and Jerry Ordway. They're including all of those, even though it is a Byrne-titled series of hardcovers. All those others are going to be in there.
Because they have stories that cross over from one mildly, but like they still story-wise, like because that era was a little bit of a like stretch of this is a story told kind of in continuity, even though it felt like each story was, each issue was its own. It kind of still had this theme running through it.
Yeah, and as I said, some of it is just in the way it's being presented. If it's being presented as this was his era of Superman, and these are stories that he had some level of oversight into, then it makes sense. Similar to like the Johns with the Green Lantern Corps issues that get included for crossovers and stuff to make sure that those stories stitch properly. Like, I'm not going to complain about issues that make sense for storytelling purposes to cover an era like that.
You're not going to scream about the purity of this is ruined because it's something that he didn't do, even though it's something that's like
I would default to, if I had to choose one position or the other, I would say include it if it's specifically part of the same story. I would say I'd rather have it included and go like, oh, maybe somebody shrugs and goes, that's weird. This is not technically drawn by John Byrne, huh? Well, and then you'll move on 5 seconds later and be fine, versus the other side being like, whoa, what? This is a huge cliffhanger, and now I have to go buy a back issue to find out what happened.
Yeah.
Or I got to go buy another omnibus.
Well, I also don't mind when with some of the writer ones, it's like, Kevin Smith with the following artists. So I wouldn't mind if they go, it's, say, the John Byrne collection, and then in small print with additional works by,
There you go, Ryan. There was my Patreon question.
Whoops, sorry. It's nice. Yeah, I think I agree for the most part. Just it depends on what the idea of the collection is. There's been a lot of art books or like the what do they call them? The oversized ones, right? Where it's the
artist edition.
The artist editions, yeah. I mean, I find it kind of a similar idea. If the goal of the book is to just showcase their issues, then that's fine. But yeah, if it's here's a complete run of Superman,
like those
then
books
yeah,
like the DC Universe by Neil Gaiman. If there was part 1 of a 2-part story and he didn't write part 2, should that be in there?
I don't think they would put it in there at all. If it was a one, if Neil Gaiman wrote one of a 2-part,
would you rather just leave it out?
That would be weird.
So,
yeah, at that point, yeah.
I mean, my take on it is still really a question of a lot of those sort of like multi-part crossovers where it's like Williamson's name on part 2 and King's name or whatnot.
Yeah.
It doesn't throw me because a lot of times they still collaborated on both parts, regardless of whose name was on the issue.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like having those stories have their, oh look, I have chapter 2 and 4, but I don't have 1 and 3, right? When the book is you're trying to tell the whole story. Yeah, I don't know. I think we've talked to death.
And there you go. We have to thank our wonderful backers on Patreon. Sorry, guys, I forgot to put up the thread. We'll have double questions next week. How about that? I'm sure nothing will happen. And we'll have a 5-hour-long episode. Joe Duff, thank you very much. Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. Craig Anderson at CraigPAnderson.com. Now I've heard him and his girlfriend are still together.
Yes.
And she does like superhero stuff.
Is this a new bonus feature, the Craig Anderson relationship corner?
Hey.
James Laws, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum podcast, Jesse Peterson at the Comic Book Matters podcast, Mr. Rama over at Hellboy_ebooks on Twitter, and Chav, just Chav, CHAV, Chav. Thank you all for your continued support. Patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. For as little as $1 a month, you can help support this podcast. Go over to comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, Apple Podcast, and Spotify for all our previous episodes. If you like YouTube, if you want to listen to us on there, no video, unfortunately, just our wonderful audio. That, of course, is youtube.com/comics, conspiracy comics with an S, after the store. Someone actually asked me, why is the store Comics Conspiracy and the podcast The Comic Conspiracy? And to me, it was like, because they're not the same. Like, they're two different things. Like, one's a podcast, one's the store. Like,
you had to make it different. You had to make it just different enough.
I have an answer for it. It's simple. Well, it's called Ryan Logic.
Well, the store is called the Comics Conspiracy Podcast. Does not sound
well. It sounds like
right to me.
It sounds like the store is doing a podcast.
Comics Conspiracy. That's the name of the store. The Comic Conspiracy Podcast. That is the name of the podcast. I could call it the Comics Conspiracy Podcast. But the Comic Conspiracy Podcast. I don't know. Look, I just wanted to have them be a little different. Did not mean for it to cause so much confusion. That's fine. And then I
wait for us to relaunch under a new title with new adjectives. It's going to be great.
All new, all different. The Comic Conspiracy Podcast. And I slur my words enough.
The all new, all different Comic Conspiracy Podcast.
I slur my words enough as it is. So the S in comics disappears. The no S in comic
hey, man,
appears.
You're not Toby, dude. Come on now.
What?
You're not Toby, man. Come on.
Comicsconspiracy.biz is the store, and you can go there to purchase comic books. If you want to see other stuff, our wonderful people here do conspiratorBrock.com. That's Brock's blog, video pull list, and unboxing videos. You can go watch his stuff there. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension podcast. That is Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. Kevin, we gotta get you on the regular rotation here.
You've got
I'll give you some
coming out. A
byline
now. To read in there amongst the group. Yeah.
Pimp some
the last.
what was the last article
the interviews are coming out. This week is Allison Sampson, who most recently drew the hit girl in Mumbai, I think it's called. for Miller World, and she's doing Sleeping Beauties, which is the Stephen King adaptation for IDW. It's coming out this summer. And then Big Dan and Big Dan Part 2, that meaning Didio and Juergens, are in July.
Nice.
At fanbasepress.com.
And where are those? There you go. And Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife Leanne's Etsy store. You can go there, find her art there, as well as LeanneHill.com. That's my dog barking if you want to see what my dog's up to. If you're on Twitter, you go to Ryan Higgins Ryan.
If they want to see what your dog is up to, how would they do that?
Your dog doesn't have an Instagram?
Oh, I thought there was some hidden feed at your house
right
for those high-tier backers. They could just watch you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Your dogs have their own Instagram account.
The dog cam. Yeah, for a few hours. On Twitter, I am Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. The store is Comics Con Store. Please listen to the Geekbox podcast. I'm on that every week. We were just talking about the PS5.
Ugly.
Whew.
Like,
that's one hideous console.
I don't really care what it looks like as long as it gets the job done.
It's the new Olympic torch.
Charlie, I literally do not know if I can fit it in my console area where I have a spot for it. It might be
just
too tall.
Mounted on the wall.
So I'm excited because from what I understand, I'll be able to replace my 4K disc player and my PS4 with it.
Yeah.
So 2 devices get removed, 1 device gets added.
No.
That's a good thing for me.
Yeah. Kevin Sharp understands. Always add. Just add.
Never
I have my
unsubscribe.
PS3, PS4, and PS5.
No.
Never unsubscribe. Never replace. Just add.
All I do is I move stuff. Meaning my main area will game the PS5 and the PS4 will move into a different room in my house.
I have my 3, 4, and I will have the 5 all hooked up together.
So I showed my son a picture of the PS4 or PS5, and he's like, when are they releasing the black one so you'll buy it?
Yeah, it's hideous.
Just take a Sharpie.
No, I am not taking a Sharpie to that pointless design.
Also, the games?
Hey, watch it.
You just don't like Miles.
It's fine.
Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, I can't wait.
I have to say though, not to turn this into the what's it called, the Geekbox conspiracy, but I have to say I escaped away on the PS4 with only being like teased by Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like I literally had no like I started on going, look, if I could hold out long enough where I could skip this whole generation, I'll skip it, right? Then years went by, and I'm like, I literally am not missing anything I actually want, except for maybe the Spider-Man game.
That Miles game is going to be on PS4 too.
Yeah. No. My point is, I was able. I'm still on the PS3. I still have a backlog of games I haven't played. I just made a point of mine. I will not buy the PS4, and I literally have not been tempted by a single game except for that Spider-Man game that I could go straight to the 5.
Yeah,
and then I'll probably just pick up that 4 as a remastered edition on the 5.
Yeah,
so I was able to skip one generation without wanting anything.
Well, the 5 is going to be backwards compatible to 4.
Yes, so
you'll
get the I can't say you'll get the entire library because they have specifically said most games will be backwards compatible. But yes, absolutely, games like Spider-Man will absolutely be backwards compatible.
Yep, but like I said, I have except for that game. Yeah. I was literally able to skip an entire generation of PlayStation, and I'm actually kind of proud of that for some reason.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about the PS5 a little bit more when it comes out end of this year.
PS5.
And also, do not forget about Manga Machinations. Been on it a few times. Talk about manga and anime. Go check out this podcast. So that's it. We're done. Nice short episode this week. Actual short episode.
Toby, you got anything else?
And we'll be back.
Oh, I'll mess with Ryan in a second.
Next week. Next week.